speaking for myself, I felt like I got to a point where, like you said, it's already, you know, a serious situation to be overshadowed by such a mogul, somebody who is so impactful in the business. That's one cloud. But then you create your own path, your own success.
Right.
So that becomes, you know, an add-on to what's already preceded, you know. And at that point, I felt like I was losing parts of myself. I was losing because one, I was only really, I don't want to say allowed, but I was only able to give one single impression of myself. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Was the genre of music or the style of music that I was doing. I was never able to really implement multiple impressions of myself. So I was like, yo, I started to be like the wedding singer. Like, this guy just needs a girl part 6, part 7. It's just always revolving around the same thing. So now, for someone who've already accomplished themselves in the street, I was already known, I've done things that warranted me to have a certain level of success in the environment that I grew up in, but now I have to audition all over again for somebody way out in Spokane, Michigan. They don't know no better. Somebody out in Swamp Fox, Idaho, they don't know no better. So it's like I'm going in reverse. You know what I'm saying? And that, you know, is something that I believe played a very significant role in some of the stresses that came from that business. And then once again, you know, being kind of like a scapegoat for Puff's, you know, characteristics or shortcomings or whatever the case may be. It's like no man should be held accountable for another man's, you know what I'm saying, dealings. But
when you say a scapegoat, what exactly you saw?
I think that a lot of times with how people perceive Puff can easily trickle down to his artists. You know what I'm saying? Unless you get to know them, then you might find some variation. But off the rip, it's like whatever is affiliated with Puff, it just becomes like this blanket thing.
Guilt by association.
Yeah, guilt by association.
Right.
It just becomes a blanket. It's like whatever he does right, you may reap the benefit from that. But definitely whatever he does wrong. You know what I'm saying?
That's on you too.
Yeah, that's on you too. You getting lined up. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was one of the things that many artists that came from that label struggle with. And another thing is like, you know, Puff is an artist. You know what I'm saying? If you think about you being an artist competing with the CEO, right? Because now if a hot beat come through,
where's it
it
going
ain't like
first?
where does it go first?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And for someone who wants to remain just as relevant as his artist, you know, you have to deal with the fact that he may see something as a better fit for himself than it is for you.
So was I Need a Girl yours first?
No. That song there was definitely a record that was birthed from really exposing what most men think. It just happened to be synonymous with his situation with J-Lo, and I think everybody just ran with that. But at the end of the day, everything that we do or did was for the girls.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't get money, get fly because you need a dude. Like, you don't need a dude, you need a girl.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I think at that time, you had a lot of hard rappers. Everybody was, you know, gangsters, whether they was affiliated or stood next to one or watched movies with them or whatever the case may be. It was like this overwhelming presence of that going on. So I think that coming out at the time and kind of like breaking that mold and saying something that really festers in the hearts and minds of all men is like, yo, need a girl.
You know what I
mean? And it worked. Even another record I co-wrote on was I Don't Want to Know. You know, Mario Winans record. You know, big record. It's like, that's something that most men think. You know, you got guys out here, know their girl, you know what I mean, might not be using best practices.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But because of your attachment to her, it's like, I would rather.
I just don't want to know about it.
I always hated that song.
I
always hated that song. Because it was
why?
For the message.
Because the message.
I hated that song. How are you nuts? Don't sing that. Are you nuts? What do you mean you don't want to? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, are you serious?
Nah, you can't hate that because that actually put the Chocolate Brothers on the map, bro. The Chocolate Brothers, you know, we was losing for a minute. Yeah, that put the Chocolate Brothers on the map.
Yeah, I didn't want to win that way. That was terrible. That was a terrible mess. What did you lose? What did you lose? What did it cost you? What did all that access cost you?
What it cost me was, one, just the overwhelming demand started to gradually tear me away from my family. It was times I actually would fly in to the state that I lived in and be so overwhelmed, have to jump on a plane and leave and not even have an opportunity to just stop by, you know, and just give a hug. I miss my son learning how to ride a bike. It was certain things that you never gonna get back because of the business.
Right.
Even though it's putting food on the table, it's making life easy for everybody, but as a father, you know what I'm saying, you're losing very valuable moments because of this. You know what I'm saying? Because of this, you know, this opportunity it's providing and making it, you know, a way for the betterment of your family.
Is it worth it though? There's some fathers who would trade. You know, I can't see you ride your bike for the first time, but I can make sure you always have a bike. Make sure you always have a house to put the bike in.
Right.
Yeah,
a roof
but
to
see,
sleep under.
at that point, you're just a provider. And I think that's a role that many men, you know, kind of glorify. But the absence, you know what I'm saying, is where the real damage is done.
Women glorify that too. Women say they want a provider. That's a lot of women.
I mean, that's. I would say it's mostly women driven, but
be a provider. Be the man in the house.
Not being able to influence or play a role in the development of that child is.
That's key.
Kids don't give.
You don't need money.
Kids don't care about money.
Nah, you don't need money for that.
Kids don't care about money.
You don't need money for
My
that.
kids have never complained. At my worst, they've never complained about money. It's always about, Daddy, come over. You know
I mean, I wasn't raised by my father, and when I did get old enough to understand, he took, you know, at the time, because my situation with my father was very, very interesting because I was told through my younger years that a certain man was my father. And I found out later who my real biological father was.
How did that happen?
I mean, you know, back in them days, you know, my mom's, she had, you know, a relationship with my biological father who was definitely well known in the streets. And I guess he had a lot going on, you know, and to, I guess, avoid being perceived as a statistic, she, you know, lean more towards someone who was more suitable to, you know,
be stable.
Yeah, more stable to, you know, basically sustain a better perception of herself. You know, you got a guy that's, you know, he's known, but he's doing him.
He's ripping and running.
He's doing him. You know what I'm saying? And the guy that I believe to be my father, you know, I yearned for his attention. I yearned for his presence. And it was to no avail. And as I got older, and he took a liberty to try to explain to me why he wasn't present, and it was all revolved around what he didn't have financially. And I literally, my grandmother, you know, may Allah have mercy on her soul, she knew me better than anybody, because I was literally about to walk around the corner. I let him take a walk with me. I was about to take him around the corner and just drop them off. Because at that point, I felt like, out of all these years, like that's the best you could come up with. Like,
but believe it or not, that's the plight of a lot of missing fathers.
I think society does that. I think society puts us in a situation where financial stability takes precedence over a man's presence, you know?
Right.
A man's presence, when we grew up watching Good Times, James ain't had no money. You know what I'm saying? But you ain't never seen a scene of Good Times where he wasn't in that house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Where he wasn't playing the role of a father. Where he wasn't, you know what I'm saying, protecting, providing, you know what I'm saying? His wife was a nurturer, cultivator, and that was the structure that we you know, we yearn for.
That we idolize.
Yeah, we idolize that.
Same thing with
Even
the
though many of
Cosbys.
us didn't have it.
Well,
Yeah.
Bill had the bread, but he was still there.
Exactly.
Doing projects in the kitchen and everything.
Yeah, no question. So, you know, and I mean, when you're growing up looking at those things and that's absent in your house, it really just, you know, becomes definitely a form of trauma. But I think in our communities, we normalize it. We found workarounds for so many of these different situations that you just end up normalizing it, you know, and you accept it, you know. And then when he do decide to come through, it's like he become your homeboy now. It's like he ain't like, you know, he about to put work in his hand and all that. Like, look, man, you know, you might well get out here and get some money with me and do something like that. Yeah, because it's like you missed your window.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You're
not dad.
Yeah, I done did everything I needed to do for myself. You might well come on out here.
And that's crazy. Because I would see my pops and tell him about like shootouts and shit that I was in. And just stare at his face. You know what I mean? But I'll be telling him like he's my homeboy. Because at that point, you my homeboy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree with that, bro. Like
crazy.
What you were saying about like the imbalance of like attention or chasing money.
Yeah.
Being present or chasing money. Like my pops not being around led me down a whole path of destruction. Because of what I seen, the things I witnessed around me. I wanted that. I wanted him to be there. Right. I didn't meet him till I was like 35. And like you said, you missed the window. So by that point, I'm like, it was good. Like,
just be a good grandfather. You know what I mean? Like, just be a good grandfather, man. The kid's over there. Go talk to him.
My pops was always there, but I remembered when money got funny with him, when his money got funny. And I remembered him, I used to see him every summer. As you get older, the summers get more expensive. Because the stuff that entertains you as a shorty don't entertain you as a teenager. And I remember one day he was in between gigs and he was trying to like get pizza. And I'll never forget the look on his face when he like peeked in his pocket and realized he didn't have it. It was either like get the pizza or do X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, 1, 2. And he was like, that look on his face, like, because he couldn't give his son. I didn't even want the food anymore. Like, Pop, don't look like that. Like, oh my God. That shit broke my heart. See, and I remember thinking, I'm not having kids till I don't have that as an issue. Like, I can't do that. My father's heart was broken just because he couldn't give to me. And it's like you're saying, all I really ever wanted was him to be around, just kicking it when it was good.
My pops was around my whole life and never did nothing for me. He was there, lived in the house and everything, never did nothing. Told me how to read, ride a bike, tie my shoes, nothing. Real talk. Yeah, shit.
And that's crazy. And that's crazy to even say.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I say about normalizing trauma.
Yeah.
Because the fact that he was there, somebody who didn't have their father might be jealous of, you know what I'm saying? Yo, look, might be ready to jump on you too. Like, dog, you complain about nothing. But in reality, you know what I'm saying, as we get older, we understand. There's variations to this trauma.
It's hot for trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rappers. Got bars I can hang with the backpackers. Trap star, I don't hang with the backpackers. I'm in the hood with the work you heard. Making fiends leave earth you heard. Got your baby mama thirst you heard. Feel the flow, nigga, throw it in reverse. This the wave you need to surf you heard.